You're not going to believe what's coming out of Santa Clara right now. The vibe shifted, and it's the kind of shift that makes you pause mid-scroll. Because this isn't just another injury update day. This feels like a signal. There's a defensive heartbeat that might be closer to coming back than anyone expected. There's a brutal blow on offense that forces an actual plan change. There's a lesser-known name staring straight at a playoff moment that could turn him into a January story. And there's a peek down the road that shows you exactly where this roster is exposed heading into 2026. And the part that should make you a little uneasy, the sharpest clue is sitting inside the list of guys who wouldn't even practice. That's when it gets real, because what came out of Santa Clara on Tuesday wasn't noise for the sake of noise. The 49ers are opening Fred Warner's practice window this week. That alone is enough to make the faithful sit up, because we're talking about the nerve center of the defense, the guy who gets everybody aligned, who checks the front, who cleans up the chaos before the snap. But the detail that squeezes the moment is the timing. Short week after Sunday. Divisional round against Seattle, and every choice comes with consequences. Kyle Shanahan laid it out like a week where you can't waste a rep, but you also can't be reckless. Tuesday is a light walkthrough, no contact. After that, the coaches evaluate who looks ready and adjust the rest of the week if they have to. So yeah, nobody wants to push too hard, but you also can't roll into Saturday night half-baked. The plan is 2 full practices, Wednesday and Thursday. Then it's off to Lumen Field for the showdown. Now, read this like a real situation, not just a list of aches. If Tuesday had been a full practice, 3 guys wouldn't have gone. Linebacker D. Winters with the ankle, safety Jair Brown with the hamstring, and linebacker Luke Gifford with the quad. That's not just guys banged up. That's rotational strain, special teams strain, and coverage communication getting stressed, right when you can't afford a crack. Then you've got the limited group. Guard Dominic Pooney, ankle. Defensive end Keon White, groin and hamstring. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, knee. And defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos, knee. Every time you see limited, that's a coaching decision hiding in plain sight. How many snaps can he handle? Do you protect him? Do you change packages? And most importantly, who does Seattle circle as a pressure point? Trent Williams, who played through a hamstring issue in Sunday's win, would have gotten a veteran rest day. That's both reassuring and a reminder. It's great to have Trent out there. It also means you're managing bodies, not just drawing up answers. And then the week takes 2 punches that actually reshape your options. Rookie linebacker Nick Martin is still in the concussion protocol, and Shanahan confirmed they don't plan to open his practice window this week. That tightens things in the middle, but the one that lands like a weight is George Kittle's torn Achilles. Surgery scheduled for Wednesday, and he's unlikely to travel with the team to Seattle. Be honest, when you hear Kittle and Achilles in the same sentence, you instantly start rewriting the offensive plan in your head. Because losing Kittle isn't just losing a tight end, it's losing a piece of the team's personality. We've been here before too. Week 1 against Seattle, when Kittle suffered the hamstring injury, landed on injured reserve, and missed 5 games. The Niners had to adapt then. This time it's tougher, because an Achilles isn't something you just play through later. You lose his edge blocking. You lose how he stresses the middle of the field. And you lose that emotional jolt he brings every time he finishes a violent rep. So when that engine part disappears, you go hunting for the guy who's already been tossed into the fire and didn't flinch. That's Jake Tonges. Tonges was fringe depth, the kind of name that back in August doesn't come with guarantees. The kind of player who makes casual fans go, wait, who is that? And then in that week 1 game, he made himself impossible to ignore by catching the game-winning touchdown to start the season 1. After that, he didn't fade. He became useful, reliable. And in a Shanahan offense, being reliable is not a small thing. He finished the season with 34 catches, 293 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Is he George Kittle? No, nothing close. He's not going to warp coverages or command the same attention, but he knows where to be. He can settle into zones, he can finish plays, and he's already shown he won't disappear when the lights get loud. And the lights are about to get loud again, against the same team that helped put him on the map. Tonges' next major assignment is Seattle, divisional round, in a building that feeds on chaos. The Seahawks are going to test that spot. They're going to force the offense to prove it can function without the safety blanket Kittle gives you. Third downs get heavier. Red zone possessions get tighter. And Shanahan has to turn limitation into structure, quickly. You can already feel the faithful wrestling with it. Some fans are leaning hard into next man up. Some are bracing for the drop-off. And most are living in that uncomfortable middle, hoping Tonges can be steady while knowing the roster is simply worse without Kittle. That's reality. But playoff football isn't about being flawless. It's about surviving. And sometimes surviving means trading flash for clean execution. And while we're all still processing that, there's another layer that keeps pulling you back. The Fred Warner part of this. Because when your defensive leader says, "I'm ready," it changes the air. Warner didn't sound like a guy wishing. He sounded like a guy who already sees the field in front of him. After breaking his ankle back in week 6, an injury that felt season-ending at the time, the fact that he's even in range of returning is crazy. And yet, if you know how Warner operates, it also makes sense. On DraftKings' Ryan Russillo show, Warner was asked where he's at, and he basically said, "I'm ready whenever they're ready." He knows it isn't just his call. There are boxes to check: medical clearance, coaching confidence, the reality of ramping up in January. Still, that mindset matters. That's a captain talking like a captain. He backed it up, too, posting video of intense field work at the practice facility outside Levi's Stadium. Cutting, moving, working like someone trying to be in the mix now, not down the line. Shanahan has been cautiously optimistic. He hasn't called it imminent. He hasn't slammed the door either. Opening the window creates a real possibility that the 49ers get their defensive organizer back for a game where communication and discipline are everything. Just think about what that does against Seattle. Pre-snap adjustments get cleaner. The middle of the field tightens up. Play action windows feel smaller. And even if Warner doesn't play, the threat that he could changes how Seattle has to prep. In January, making the other team hesitate is a weapon, but that's also where the debate gets sharp. Do you push a star into playoff intensity right away, knowing one wrong step could cost you more than a game, or do you hold him and risk playing the biggest matchup of the year without the brain of the defense? And while all of that is swirling, you can't ignore what this season has revealed about the roster going forward. Even with the playoff run alive, the 2026 picture is already murmuring. This injury-heavy year basically handed the front office an early report card on where the cracks are. One area that's screaming for attention is the wide receiver room. Here's the reality as it's being framed. Brandon Ayuk is viewed as effectively out of the team's plans going forward, and on paper, he isn't being treated like a piece you're building around for 2026. Then you look at what's coming up with free agency. Jawan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, and Sky Moore are all scheduled to hit the market. That's a lot of snaps and chemistry potentially walking out the door. At that point, you're looking at Ricky Pearsall and Demarcus Robinson as the under-contract receivers with real experience, while Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins sit in that still-developing bucket. So naturally, fans start dreaming about the big free agency splash, the blockbuster name, the jersey sales. But Shanahan's history tells you he's usually not chasing hype, he's chasing fit. A trade to add to the room is possible, but the way this is being framed, it feels more likely to be around the edges than for a true number one, which keeps pulling you back to the same place the Niners keep returning to, the draft. And that's where Elijah Sarrett from Indiana gets brought up, not as a current fix, just as a name that fits what this offense is going to need. He's 6'2", 209, and he plays with that physical, fight for everything style. He's not described as blazing fast, but he shows up in big moments, and most importantly, he's a real red zone threat. 15 of his 62 catches going for touchdowns this season isn't some random blit. That's a roll. And with Kittle likely to miss a big chunk, if not most, of the 2026 season, that red zone production gets even more valuable. Sarrett is being talked about as a day 2 type, probably somewhere in the second round, with early chatter that teams like Arizona could be in the mix around that range. That means if Shanahan really wants a player like this, he might not be able to sit back and hope he drops. Trading up could be the cost. And that's where the faithful will split right down the middle. Is it worth spending draft capital on a receiver who isn't flashy? Or is that exactly the kind of quiet, smart move that keeps an offense functional year after year? Let me say this. Roster building isn't about winning April headlines. It's about winning 3rd and long in December and finishing drives in the red zone in January. So yeah, it's all connected right now. The possible return of the defensive heartbeat, the brutal loss that forces the offense to evolve, the chance for a lesser-known name to become a playoff answer, and the future pressure point at receiver staring you in the face. Now I've got to hear from you. Would you push Warner back out there this week if he checks the boxes? Do you trust Tonges to carry a real role in Seattle? And if you're looking ahead, are you trading up for a red zone receiver, type in the draft? Or are you keeping every pick and betting on development? Hit like, make sure you're subscribed, and drop your take in the comments, because the 49ers faithful don't duck the conversation.